Hi everyone, today is January 23rd, 2021. This is the Duel Assessment, your podcast for Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. My name is Green Ranger. This week we got nothing going on. I could have gotten away with not even doing this episode. And this might be one of the shortest episodes in a really long time. There's nothing going on in the game. And just some PvE events. There's the Tag Duel Tournament where we got 2 cards. A new card from Duel Quest, which isn't very good. And really, that's it. I know we're supposed to get the new upcoming news in the next few days. We're going to get Kaitenjo soon. But nothing. I did hit King of Games, though, so I will talk a little bit about that King of Games report. Unfortunately, it was Noble Knights over Digital Bugs. I already did my last deck deep dive on Noble Knights, but I'm obligated to talk about it again. And most of this week will be all about esports. So yeah, there won't be much to talk about. Sorry if this does not take up much time, but that is where we are in the game. Hopefully next week we'll have more content from the game. I guess there's something to add, but I'll bring that up later. So, as mentioned before, I hit King of Games with Noble Knights. I guess I'll save the report for later, but Tag Duel Tournament is going on. I actually got 3 copies of the cards before I even finished it. I'm not even done yet. I did the special cup or whatever, or I didn't even finish the special cup, and I already got my my 3 copies of cards. There's no skill to get from this event, from what I could tell. So it's just about getting those 2 cards. Obviously, if you've been keeping up, you don't really need that Gachi Gochi Dragon, because I already have it. So that was a 3rd chase card to get, but it's just 2 new cards, and I already got them all. So, besides that, I think last time there was a bingo. There was a tour guide bingo, which I actually missed because I forgot to collect all my rewards. I think I'm slipping up in the game, and that's something I would have caught before I would have collected my rewards, but I didn't. So I'm kind of kicking myself in the head a little bit for that, but we can't all be perfect in this game. So let's get to esports. Talk about a few different tournaments, most of them from Duel Links Meta, some of them from other sources. First one, the most recent one, I'm going in backwards order here, is Meta Freakly, Duel Links Meta Freakly 33. And we are going to go over some of the meta shifts that are being observed with the meta, and it's becoming a very, unfortunately, it's becoming a less diverse meta, but a new meta. First place, V Bellafiore, Balance Blue Eyes. So that's the thing that stands out right here. Balanced Blue Eyes. And basically it's Noble Knights and Blue Eyes going at first place. And then there's Thunder Dragons, and then there's no one else. Noble Knights were always the balanced deck. Blue Eyes always ran Alternative Evolution or Ultimate Dragons. Now Blue Eyes are in this incognito. They're playing balance. And that's a good way to fool the opponent when you're not playing Kaiba. And what that has resulted in is the deck running 6 spells and 6 traps. And as evidence from this deck, you've got 6 traps, 3 Raigeki Breaks, and 3 Karma Cuts. Back then, I think a week ago, the Blue Eyes would have just gotten away with the 3 Karma Cuts. You got 6 spells, 3 cards of consonants, of course, 1 melody, and 2 ancient rules. And then the monsters are pretty much straightforward, nothing fancy. 1 Alternative Dragon, 3 White Stone of Ancients, 1 Dragon Sphere of White, 3 Sage with Eyes of Blue, 3 Blue Eyes White Dragon. So, they had, Cosmo Brain, they had the other Stone of Ancients, White Stone of Legend, I believe it was called. All that's been cut here. And you're pretty much running the balance deck. Second place, Simo W, Harpies, Hunting Ground, Blackwings. This deck is barely clinging on to the tier list. This is a build. Blackwings have been nerfed a little bit, so you don't see them that much anymore. 3 Offerings to the Doomed. That was a card that was played with the deck quite a bit, thanks to the immense card advantage from Black Whirlwind, Necro Valley, Book of the Moon. Otherwise, it's pretty much just the same old hodgepodge of Blackwing monsters. Top 4 Tinoco level duplication Thunder Dragons. So we're going to talk about some more Thunder Dragon decks later, but they've pretty much gotten a new dual skill in level duplication, and this is a skill that can really help in their XYZ plays. They are a deck that has an ability to get onto the board with big XYZ plays with their special summoning capabilities. And as evidence from this extra deck, you've got 2 Synchro monsters, Vermilion Dragon and Onamaru, but then you've got an XYZ menu here, rank 8 Hieratic Sun Dragon Overlord of Heliopolis, 2 Constellar Ptolemy M7, I have to learn how to say that word, rank 6 number 25 Force Focus, and then rank 5 Adrius Keeper of Armageddon. Also seen in this deck is Skullmeister, a card that has been used as a tech card against graveyard plays, and now he is back. 2 copies of him. You just need him in your hand to negate. It's kind of like a debunk from the hand, pretty much, except it only hits the graveyard. And with the top 2 decks in the meta, Noble Knights and Blue Eyes being graveyard decks, it's a very good place for it. Top 4 Tavir K level duplication Thunder Dragons. Again, the notable thing about this deck, it's probably a budget deck because this player is running 2 copies of Levianeer. Pretty much every competitive Thunder Dragon deck will run 3 copies. He does run Chaos Sorcerer. This is a card that you kind of do see as an alternative. It's kind of a light Chaos Dragon Levianeer with some nice banish ability. Alright. Also, honorable mention here, 3D Bounce Worms. We haven't seen Worms. This is the Zex Jagan build, which we've seen pretty much as the best Worm deck before in the past, but nothing crazy, but top 32 for 3D. Alright, Duel Links Meta Weekly 160. First place Furman with Balanced Noble Knights. This is the Hey True Need version, which is the version I play, which I'll be talking about later. Fewer traps here. Got 7 trap cards. Pelennor has been dropped from some decks, but Furman likes playing Pelennor. No Noble Knight brothers. Usually you pick one or the other. I unfortunately have both. And this guy's also running Star Liege Paladinamo, which I run in my extra deck too. So this deck's very similar to the one I got King of Games with, except mine's cheaper. Second place, Zumaz Balanced Noble Knights. This one chooses Noble Knight Brothers over Pelennor, so there you go. Got a lot of discard traps here. 3 Raigeki Break, 3 Karma Cut, and 3 of the Noble Arms Trap, which is often used as the cost for those trap cards. An interesting thing we see in Noble Knights decks, they run Typhoon in the side deck and also Iatos, Celestial Sword Iatos, which is interesting because Guardian Iatos is not in the deck. Top 4 Leonardo, Master of Destiny Desperado. So this deck is about to fall off the tier 1. It's going to become the main tier 2 deck probably. And what we see is a new tech card, Ally of Justice Quarantine, which is a very fitting name given COVID. But what this card does is neither player can special summon light monsters. And this is a really good card given that the top 2 decks in the meta are light and dark. And even Thunder Dragons use a lot of light monsters. So this is a very good tech card, even if you're playing ranked duels. You're just going to see those decks all the time. Everyone's like playing blue. I think there's a lot more Blue Eyes than Noble Knights. There's just like a million Blue Eyes. So, Ally of Justice Quarantine if you can fit it in. Top 4 Refresh Ultimate Dragons Blue Eyes. This is what most Blue Eyes decks look like. And 1 Alternative Dragon, 3 White Stone of Ancients, 1 Spirit of White, 3 Sage of Eyes of Blue, 3 Blue Eyes, 2 Book of the Moon, 3 Cards of Consonants, 1 Melody of Awakening Dragon, and 3 Karma Cuts. So they didn't make room for the trap cards, obviously, because this is not playing the balanced build. That's it. Okay. Duel Links Taiwan Weekly 134. First place, Grucius. Draw since Dark Invoked Magician Girl. This deck is back from the dead for now. All the handicaps, limit 3 on Alistair in Invocation. No more Cosmic Cyclone. Still here. This deck has 11 trap cards of the 20 cards, so it's heavy on control. It's always been heavy on control, this deck, from its roots as an Element Saber deck. So there you go. And an interesting development here is in the extra deck, there is Sylvan Princess Sprite, which can work with the Berry Magician Girl. Second place, Fallen Angel level duplication Thunder Dragon. So, valuable deck in the meta, like with level duplication. They've got the whole menu for their extra deck with the XZ's plays. This one runs DD Crow as the tech card, similar to the Skullmeister, but less attack. You get to banish the card from the graveyard instead of disabling it, so it's a more permanent fix, but has no attack, I guess. This one does run 3 Levineers and Chaos Sorcerer. Top 4, Soft Kun with Onomatopoeia. This is a deck I really don't know how it works at all, but it does run 2 Hey Trunades and 3 Gaga Bolts, which are cards. Gaga Bolt is a card that you can use. You can use all of them in a turn if you have them all. And it's just a very simple control card. If you control a Gaga monster, target one card in the field, destroy it. So it's removal, situational on your monsters being on the board. This makes me think it's a very aggressive deck. They also have Dodo Draw, which lets you draw 2 cards. These cards are pretty powerful, like Cards of Consonance. Just to tell you what this deck looks like: 3 Utopic Onomatopoeia, 3 Zubabavancho Gaga Coat, 1 Gaga Mancer, 2 Gaga Sister, 1 Dodo Driver, 1 Lance, 3 Gaga Bolt, 2 Hey Trunade, 3 Dodo Draw, and 1 Gaga Wind. Top 4, Uchiha David, Balance, Blue Eyes. I don't know if I wrote this one down. Oh yeah. So this is the first deck I saw that ran Balance Blue Eyes. And paved the way. Last tournament is Path to King's Castle number 6. First place, Groovy 2, Balance Noble Knights. So this deck runs 3 Cosmic Cyclones, which isn't the most common thing in Noble Knights. They do run 3 Arthur Duders as well, so it's pretty heavy on that back row removal. Other than that, they play Brothers over Pelennor, which is a thing that I've been tracking. Yep, okay, that's it. Second place, and Joffre play Alternative Evolution Blue Eyes. Very linear deck. No Karma Cuts in this deck. 3 Raigeki breaks, and that is it. Top 4, David McGree. Level duplication Thunder Dragons. So they found, the perfect skill for all their XZ's plays, and also helps with the synchro, getting more stars on those monsters. This deck runs DD Crow as a tech card. And top 4, Ryo Pain level duplication Thunder Dragons. Again, same thing. So in terms of the tier list itself, it has tier 2. They have Noble Knights as tier 1. Tier 2, we got Blue Eyes, Desperado, Thunder Dragons. Tier 3, Black Wings, Gookie, Invoke Neos. But I personally like looking at the power rankings to see where the trends are going. Noble Knights have pretty much stayed stable with minor increase or decrease, 20.7. Blue Eyes have shot up to 14.5. Pretty much it's just Noble Knights and Blue Eyes, but Thunder Dragons are on the tail. It could be a three-headed race here. Thunder Dragons are always around 14. Desperado, I would say they're going to fall into the tier 2 on these power rankings. They're 12.8. Tier 2, we have nothing. Tier 3, they've made an adjustment where they cut it off at 3 instead of 2. So Tier 3 only includes decks with power levels between 3 and 5. We have Invoke Neos at 4.4, Gookie at 3.9, Black Wings at 3.9. And some decks have been dropped off because they're in the 2s probably. Masked Heroes, Witchcrafters, Cyber Dragon, Ritual Beasts, and Satellar Knights. These are pretty much the tier 4. I'm just making that up. There's no tier 4 in this tier list. Alright, let's get to the PvE event. PvE event, yes. It's a tag duel tournament. This is one of my favorite events. Like I said, I got all 3 of my cards by not even finishing the event. That's as good as it gets. And yeah, they did recycle pretty much the same people though. It's like it didn't really change from the last tag duel tournament. So you're pretty much playing in the same groups. There is a Zexal Cup now though, so that's different. I think they had a DSOD Cup last time, so now it's Zexal. Yeah. 2 new cards. First one is Red Eyes Darkness Dragon. Level 9 Dark Dragon 2400 2000. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned from your hand by attributing 1 Red Eyes Black Dragon. Cannot be special summoned other ways. This card gains 300 attack for each dragon monster in your graveyard. So before Blue Eyes came out, Red Eyes were the masters of the graveyard. Now Blue Eyes are doing it better, and Red Eyes have fallen by the wayside. This kind of lets you take advantage of those trap cards like Red Eyes Spirit. Man, I'm even forgetting the name of those cards. But there's like trap cards that bring Red Eyes out of the graveyard. And what this card does is you basically can special summon this card. It gets stronger, and then you use a trap card to bring back the other Red Eyes. That's very not impressive at all. Not exciting at all. There's nothing to say. And even if you're bringing back that other card, this card gets weaker because that card comes back from the graveyard. So you basically have 2 Red Eyes. You're not going to Xyz them because this is a level 9 and that's a level 7. So you can't even do a rank 7 Xyz play with it. It's just a beater, and you're probably running beatdown or something. Very old strategy here. Nothing too exciting. And this is even a card. Let's say you're trying to make your Red Eyes deck better. You're not going to run a lot of these cards because they're going to brick your hand. You might just run 1 in your deck. So this does not help Red Eyes come back into prominence in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, this is not a very good card. Okay, but it's not very good. The other new card we get is Neos, which is an equip spell. Equip only to Elemental Hero Neos. It gains 800 attack. When it destroys a monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, inflict damage to your opponent equal to half the original attack of the destroyed monster in the graveyard. During the end phase, shuffle this card into the deck. This is a flashy card. Neos 2500 attack becomes 33. You inflict half burn based on the attack damage, so it's kind of like that girl's name, Cyber Angel Ben 10. Ben 10 did defense though. So this is there's also another monster that did this. It's kind of dinosaur monster. Conductor, Ultimate Tyranno Conductor. I think that did 1500, which is pretty good too. But the problem with this card is it only works for Neos. And there's already a much better equip spell called Favorite Hero. Favorite Heroes are very like OTK decks, and this one might not even get you to OTK. It's like only if you're hitting a really weak, like a monster with the attack that just works out for them to lose the game. But Favorite Hero can get a Neos like at 5,000 or 6,000 attack because it adds the 2,000 defense to their attack, and then they get hit twice. This card, you just hit them once, and you inflict burn, and you shuffle us back into the deck, and that's it. So Neos aren't an equipped deck. This is a card that you don't have to run a ton of them, but with Favorite Hero being, gives them a big buff, gives them protection against back row activation, it gets a spell out of the deck, and the extra attack, that has so many more advantages over Neos Force. Favorite Hero is definitely better, and you're not running an equipped deck, as I said. Now, even though I like this event a lot, I do have a complaint just looking at these cards. There is a Star Blast here, and this is a card that's at limit 1, and they keep giving it as a reward from the UR pool. So There's Red Eyes Darkness, Kachi Kochi, which is good. And then Star Blast. This is a card we only need one of. They should just stop giving it to us once we have enough. It becomes nothing. We're pretty much getting nothing as a reward here, which could have been another card. Like another new card instead of Star Blast. I get it for people who are like taking breaks from the game or whatever, but they're giving us a lot of copies of a card that we can only play one of, which sucks. Alright. Duel Quest. Pretty lackluster Duel Quest in terms of rewards. We got Dark Chimera and Sword Arm of Dragon, which are cards that do not have multiples of 50, that's kind of cool. Ruins of the Divine Dragon Lords. Mokuba card that we get, extra copies of now. Dark Energy, which is a very old card. And Stealth Bird. This is the only new card here. It's a Dark Winged Beast, level 3, 700 attack, 1700 defense. Once per turn, you can change this card to face down defense. When it's flipped, summoned, inflict 500 damage to your opponent. This is a nerfed burn card to normal at 1000. This is not that good. You could continuously use this card. Sure, you can inflict 500 each turn, but it's better to stick to monsters that get destroyed or get flip effects off. This would have been great as a flip effect card, but it's a pseudo flip. You have to get that flip summon off. You have to make this card survive somehow. That's pretty much the toughest thing, and it's not very good. You're building a burn deck. This card probably doesn't even make it, unfortunately. The last thing there is to talk about is King of Games. And I hit King of Games with Noble Knights yesterday. Actually, it was the day before. And what I have to say about Noble Knights is they're very good. I think I got this King of Games with 89 wins, which is something very throwback. I haven't done that in a while. And once basically I just got my ass playing the game again. Like I was just not playing a lot, and I was toying around with digital bugs or whatever, and then I was just like, screw it, let's just get those 200 gems and play Noble Knights. So, I just looked through deck lists and stuff, and the last Meta Weekly winner, he ran a deck that minimized the amount of discard trap cards you play. And that got me thinking about what to do with the deck. So it kind of like made my deck based off a few different ideas. I check the ideas that other Noble Knight players run. And I'm curious here if I'm the first person to hit King of Games with Noble Knights just running 2 copies of Merlin. I want to know, am I the first? Let me see. I'm on Duel Links Meta's website. I'm going to filter King of Games on Noble Knights. Where are Noble Knights? There's been 74 in the last 2 weeks. This guy has 3. Mine has 2. Let's see what we got here. This guy's 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. Alright. Just looking at 10 Noble Knight decks, I think it's safe to say I'm the first one to get King of Games with 2 Merlins. And that basically means I just bought through the box twice. Instead of spending another $6 or $7 on the third copy. Now, I got away with this because I already had Noble Knights. I already had Madrot. I had 3 copies of Madrot. I had 3 copies of Dristan, which you only need 1 of. And that was pretty much it for Noble Knights. I had 2 copies of this, because I only have 2 buy-throughs of the deck. In addition to the 2 Merlin, I only have 2 copies of Until Noble Arms Are Needed once again. And in the extra deck, I think Sacred Noble Knight of King Artorgus, you only needed 2 anyways. Artorigus, King of the Noble Knights, you only needed 2. And Sacred Noble Knight of King Kustanin from the new deck, you only needed 1. And you pretty much fill out the extra deck however you want. But basically, I hit King of Games just by buying 2 buy-throughs. And just going through this deck, it's a little bit of a hybrid just because I'm missing that Merlin. I've talked about how decks have made a compromise between picking Pelennor or Brothers, and I pretty much have both of them because I have the space. I need to fill out monsters. I wanted 11 monsters in the deck. That seemed like the minimum for Noble Knight decks, so I do have both of those cards. Now, following other trends, I do run 2 Hey Trunades in this deck. I do like it a lot. I prefer it over the Cosmic Cyclone play. It just, whenever you get a chance to use your semi-limit, it's very good. It's a nice idea because they're good cards. I get that balance. You're kind of stuck with that spell sometimes, but most of this deck is spell cards. Like, that's the predominant. Well, there's 11. There's 11 monsters, 11 spells, and 8 traps. So I guess it's tied with the monsters, but more than likely you're going to have 2 spells, so it doesn't really hurt you if you just get Hey Trunade and nothing else. I don't think that has ever happened to me. I do run 3 Arthur-Dutors, which is something I followed. Decks were doing that a lot. And like I mentioned before, the past meta weekly winner was running very few discard for cost trap cards. So, previously I was running like 3 Karma Cuts and Ballista Squad and 2 Raigeki Breaks or something, but I've really cut down. In terms of the monster core, 3 Madrot, of course, not much more to say. I feel like I've talked about Noble Knights so much that just rehashing it all is a bit repetitive. So 3 Madrot, of course, this is a card you need, and you get it from the box, so that's why a lot of people bought 3 of it. When you're playing Madrot, you equip a spell or the Gwenhwai Far, and then you destroy it, and then you get to summon a monster. So usually it's going to be Boars. I run 2 copy of Boars. Some decks run 3. I think 2 is fine. You use Boars to search out a spell. Or, no, you search out the Gwenhwai Far, and 2 Until Noble Arms Are Needed Again play. That's pretty much the core play for Noble Knights. Sometimes you break that rule. You have Gwenhwai Far, or you have the trap card already in your hand. And in that case, you search for some other Noble Arm equip spell. But basically, that's the main play. Sometimes you go with Dristan to knock out a card on the board. And it's worth mentioning that Madrot and Boars become level 5 dark monsters when they're equipped. Dristan stays as a level 4 light monster. Now, as I mentioned before, Merlin is the most important card here. I only run 2, which means you can get King of Games with just 2. Merlin's primarily useful for the ability to Xyz summon while in the graveyard. So, smart players, it's a disadvantage when you're playing Noble Knights and your opponent has a Karma Cut waiting for you. That's why having the Hey Trunade's good. Having Forbidden Lance is fine. I think Forbidden Lance works against that. Cosmic Cyclone, sure. Even though I just said I preferred Hey Trunade, you can use Cosmic Cyclone against that Karma Cut there. But when they interfere with Merlin, you pretty much lose. They hit Merlin, then you have no follow through because that's your normal summon. Merlin's great when you're going first, and then you get to mess with your opponent when they're wasting their Dragon Spirit of White on something, or they're wasting some kind of removal on a guy who's going to be used as Xyz material, So Merlin's very good at that. Now, Gwenhwai Far, she is as I said, the main play with Boars. You search for her and 2 of the trap, and you're going to equip her no matter what, because no matter if she's in your hand or if she's in your graveyard, she's going to be equipped to Madrot. So key card in making the level 5 XC's play. She also allows those dark monsters to affect destroy stuff. So that's a non-targeting ability. It's a very nice ability. I've used it on like a Dark Cavalry, and I just killed him. I mean, he attacked me, so I just killed him with the Gwen Huifar. So she's pretty good. Now the other two accessory cards, Pelennor. Pelennor, frankly, I didn't use him a ton for his effect, and that's why people cut it, because he's not the best, but he is 1900 attack, and that's worth something sometimes. And Noble Knight's Brothers. This card almost never attacks because it can't. Usually you use this to ramp into an Xyz play. Otherwise, sometimes you're desperate. It's okay leaving a 2400 defense monster onto the board. Those are the monsters. In terms of the Noble Arms spells, 3 of the Quick Play Glory of the Noble Knights. I frankly did not use this card that much, but it is good for thinning out the deck. 3 are for Duders. This is something that decks started to do, and I think it's a great idea. Previously, I think when I began this month, I was playing just 1 Arfaduder, and once they banished that was it, pretty much. So that was that. It's nice using Arfaduder multiple times a turn. You could just pass it along the Noble Knights and just keep hitting stuff on the board. They're weaker, but then you use them for Xyz material, so who cares? 1 Caliburn. I think I began this month playing the Solemn Scolding build, and the Solemn Scolding build is the only one where you want to gain a ton of life points, and having multiple copies of Caliburn will help against that. But with this deck, I don't really care about gaining life, so I only have 1. 1 Gallatin. This is when you want your power play. It's a good card. And 1 copy of Noble Arms of Destiny. This is regarded as the best Noble Arms equip spell. A lot of decks run 2 of them, and I don't fault them. It's a good card to have. Saves your skin a lot. And like I said, I run 2 Hate Runades as my semi-limit card. Great against the meta because of those Karma Cuts. Basically lets you survive your turn 2 turn. That's it. That's all I have to say. Hate Runade's good. Now traps, you only have 1 core trap here. It's until Noble Arms are needed once again. This is a card you can do for your Scry card advantage play. But I just discard this card sometimes. Like, it's fine getting tossed with Boars. You use Boars' ability and you toss it, and then you get to do tricky stuff from the graveyard. That's pretty much what this card is for, is to do tricky stuff from the graveyard. Usually that's Dryston who's doing that. The other cards. 3 copies of Paleozoic Canadia. This is, I had Book of the Moon and I wanted to use it, but it was another spell card. So this is pretty much the same thing. Paleozoic Canadia kind of fell off the meta when Invoke was really strong, because you leave a monster with 0 defense, and then they can Purgatrio and pierce you for a ton of damage. It also helps that there are fewer Dark Cavalries out there now, so this card's pretty good. And the monster is immune to monster destruction, so that's good against Noble Knights and Blue Eyes. 3 copies of that card, 1 Raigeki Break, and 1 Karma Cut. You could go either way with this, I think, because Karma Cut's definitely better against Blue Eyes. You could just kill them with a Karma Cut. If they've gotten more Blue Eyes out and you take them out, then they're done. And Raigeki Break has an advantage of hitting any card on the field, so that's why I have it. And then the last card is Dust Tornado. This is a card that Meta Weekly winner did play. I think he had 2 copies, but only have 1. Just more spell trap removal. I guess this is good against Necro Valley. Frankly, if Dust Tornado wasn't here, it didn't really matter. Like, it's just another removal. There's not much more to say about it. It lets you set another card, but I didn't even use that ability. So that's the deck. Extra deck, 2 copies of Sacred Noble Knight of King Artorias. This is very good. It made the deck what it was. Yeah, sometimes there's a little OTK with this card too. Like with help from Merlin, you can hit with your guys and then use this, Or you can get the Caliburn, Gallatin, and Gwen Hwai Far, and you hit for 4,000. That's pretty good too. Artorigus, King of Noble Knights. This is normally the back row control, and with all the back row control I already have, I don't think I even use this card that much. Like, I don't remember the last time I played this card, frankly. This one's pretty good. Sacred Noble, Knight of King Kustanin. This is good for bouncing stuff. That's his main purpose. He doesn't have much attack, and he does float into another Xyz monster. So that's pretty good. Overall, pretty much what made Noble Knights the best deck is this card. The other cards, Starliege, Paladinamo. I just have this from the selection box, and it fits well with Noble Knights being 2 level 4 light monsters. That's what Noble Knights are. And then you can make a monster have 0 attack. So it's pretty cool if you want that ability. I don't think I ever used it, though. Like, I think I used it, but I don't think it made me win the game. Like, it wasn't... I never used the ability to help me win a game. I just did it to show off. Flagship of Khorne. I rarely use this card, frankly. Yeah. It could have been Diamond Direwolf, and I didn't know. And then Gaia Dragon the Thunder Charger. This lets you convert your Sacred Noble Knight of King Artorigus after you've spent his abilities or whatever, and turn him into Gaia Dragon the Thunder Charger. Pretty good if you want piercing. I think that's pretty much the main play with this card, because the Artorigus, Sacred Noble Knight of King Artorigus, will have equipped spells on him. So, I did use it to win a game, I think. It helped me pressure an opponent to... Because you're playing against Blue Eyes most of the time. They're playing those stones in defense. They have like very little defense, so you pierce them for 2,000 or so, and it's pretty good. But yeah, this deck just beats Blue Eyes. Like, I think that's why I hit King of Games with so little resistance after I switched this deck. It beats Blue Eyes. Blue Eyes are like half of the decks you play in ranked right now. And in the mirror match, it's a little tougher, but you typically have an advantage playing against the mirror because you know all their plays. Thunder Dragons, I did face a little bit, but everything else was pretty easy. Occasionally run to that rogue deck that beats you, but, you know, meta is super soft right now, and I will say it's pretty easy to hit King of Games, and I think, you know, as I'll gloat again, I'm the first one to do it with just 2 Merlins. That's my claim to fame today. Alright, so that is it for the podcast. I'm trying to make it to 40 minutes. I think I will. Upcoming news, we get to obtain Kite Tenjo next week. In a couple days, actually 2 days, we'll get to obtain Kite Tenjo, so that's something cool. We'll talk about his level up cards and reward cards. Mission circuit with a new SR card called Linear Accelerator Cannon. They've already made the improvements to the dual screen. I think the deck builder has some new things too, so that's pretty cool. Yeah. And next week we'll have the upcoming news for February next week. So thanks for listening to this abbreviated episode of the podcast. Listen and subscribe anywhere you get your podcast, or search the Duel Assessment. You'll see all these notes on the duelassessment.wordpress.com. Email me with anything at the duelassessment@gmail.com. Or you can find my fairly inactive Twitter account at duel_assessment, or my own, even more abandoned account at Green Ranger CCG. Alright, thanks for listening. I'll talk to you next time.